The Azerbaijan Baku Fires travel all the way to the Cuban capital of Havana to take on the Cuba Domadores. It was a vital match for Azerbaijan. They were only a few points above the next team below them, Russia. They had to have a win here to be comfortable. Of course, we had the ring parade to kick everything off. We went from the flyweight division right the way through to the super heavyweights. And Magomed Abdul Hamidov went up against the Cuban flyweight by the name of Leodan Nunez, and he was making his World Series of Boxing debut. It was a messy affair in the beginning, but both lads got their act together, and Leonard Nunez, well, he boxed pretty well and caught Abdul Hamidov with some very, very decent combinations throughout. Abdul Hamidov came into the match ranked number 12 by the World Series of Boxing and had 12 WSB bouts under his belt with just one defeat. And of course, he dropped to his second. In the lightweight division, Khurshid Tojibayev, an Uzbek representing Azerbaijan, went up against Pablo Vincenti, making his WSB debut, and it was a very, very strange affair. And eventually a clash of heads caused a nasty cut on Tojibayev's forehead. He failed the second visit to the doctor. The referee stopped the contest. They went to the scorecards, and Tojibayev, had seemed to have done more than enough, was declared a worthy winner.
Azerbaijan Baku Fire, Khurshid Tojibayev.
In the welterweight division, Yevgeny Ramashkevich, well, he had a real tough task on his hands against Ronnie Iglesias. Iglesias ranked number 8 by the World Series of Boxing, and Ramashkevich number 16. It was a good fight, no doubt about that, and Iglesias came in as the favourite and left a worthy winner to go 2-1 up after 3 bouts.
Second round, de los Domadores de Cuba, Roniel Iglesias. Baku Fire, Teimur Mammadov.
So Teimur Mammadov went up against Julio Cesar La Cruz. It wasn't the prettiest fight you'll ever see because the style of Julio Cesar La Cruz was incredibly awkward. It was at times a bit bad-tempered. Mammadov tried all he possibly could, but found Julio Cesar La Cruz incredibly difficult to deal with. And La Cruz is clearly the head of the Who Wants Him club.
Domadores de Cuba, Julio Cesar La Cruz. Arlasbiek Makhmudov.
And Arslanbek Makhmudov, well, he restored a bit of Azerbaijani pride by racking up the second win on the evening with a beautiful right uppercut there that dropped his opponent, Joandris Masio. Masio's woes were compounded when he had a point deducted for losing his gum shield 3 times in the entire contest. It wasn't the most pleasant boxing match you'll ever see, with plenty of dirty tactics, I thought, from Masio. But at the end, the score was Cuba 3, Azerbaijan 2. And Cuba, of course, stay well on top of Group B with 27 points.
The final week of regular season on the World Series of Boxing, and after 9 grueling contests, the Mexico Guerreros welcome the Russian boxing team in week 10 to the fortress that has been the Foro Polanco in Mexico City for more Group B action. Russia already looking happy. They had a point on the board with a walkover in the super heavyweight category. So first up, it would be light heavyweight. Both teams stepping into the ring and looking to try and bring a result home to finish off this season. For the Mexico Guerreros, this will be their last action of the WSB season, so a last chance for their boxers to impress. Well, Petrucci Urbano did exactly that in his contest at light heavyweight against Eduard Yakushev. Yakushev, coming back to the Russian team after a little while away, was made to work very hard. Urbano with his best performance of the season by far, the Moldovan boxing for the Guerreros, and he certainly pushed Yakushev all the way. But in the end, that little bit of class for Yakushev showed through to get him a points decision and take Russia to 2-0 on the evening. And from there, Russia moved to 3 debutants. Alim Gadzhiev, the 21-year-old, stepping out for his opening WSB contest against a very difficult opponent in Marvin Cabrera, the southpaw. But Cabrera, once again, found it very difficult going. Gadzhiev, with a spirited performance, really did go after the Mexican fighter, and Cabrera forced to turn things around in the end to bring home the points victory. But boy, was he made to work for that. So at least the Guerreros had a point on the board. Fernando Alvarez then stepping into the breach against this man, Dmitry Polyansky. Alvarez with a bit of experience on the WSB, a quality performer, but this is what happened in round 1. Down went Alvarez, and Dmitry Polyansky, after a confident entry to the ring, delivered exactly what he promised to do. And after 1 minute 14 seconds of round 1, a knockout as Polyansky played Alvarez like a xylophone. Another point on the board to Russia, meant a victory for them on the night, and really it was all about pride as we headed towards the final bout. Great win for Polyansky on his debut, and now Elias Emigdio was the man that was responsible for trying to finish the Guerreros season on a high against another debutant, Novik Oganessian, the 21-year-old. Didn't look quite as confident as Polyansky when he stepped in the ring, but at one point he actually had the lead in this fight with 2 rounds to go, and Emigdio forced to call on all his experience and ability to finally bring this fight home, but he had to really bring it to the Russian in the last round. And in the end, Oganessian just getting tagged a couple of times, and relentless work from the Guerreros man took the victory. But with that super heavyweight walkover on the night, it still ended up at 3-2 to Russia. Emigdio, though, getting a win to finish the Guerreros season. We say goodbye to the Guerreros, but for Russia, they move on into the playoffs.
The German Eagles travel to Buenos Aires to take on the Argentina Condors in week 10 from the World Series of Boxing. And in the first bout in the light flyweight division, Junior Zarate was making his debut for the Condors up against Ovidio Bercianao. And it was a pretty equally matched encounter, both boxers giving as good as they got. And plenty for the crowd to get excited about from Zarate. And in the end, the debutant did just enough to take what was a very close encounter. 49-46, 50-45, 50-45. And for his first time on the WSB, Zarate recorded a win to make it 1-0 out to Argentina. Next up was the bantamweight, Alberto Ezequiel Melian up against Omar El Hag. Melian, the far more experienced boxer and the crowd favourite. And he started very brightly indeed, did Melian. El Hag came back though, and he finished pretty strongly in the match. But in the end, it was Melian who took it on points. 50-45, 48-47, 49-46. El Hag, who was the lower-ranked boxer, gave a very good account of himself. But it wasn't enough to stop the indomitable Melian. That put Argentina 2-0 up. Germany knew they were up against it. But things started to turn in their favour. In the light welterweight division, Carlos Aquino was up against Castrillo Sopa. And this time, the Condor was the underdog in this fight. Sopa dominated the first few rounds as he showed exactly what he was capable of. Aquino then seemed to settle into the match, and he began to fight back and did very well, particularly in the last round. But it was too little, too late from Carlos Aquino. And the fight went the way of Castrillo Sopa, 49-46, 49-46, 48-47. And the first point was on the board for Germany. Into the middleweight division, Sergio Alberto Lebenstam was making his debut up against Denis Robert Radovan. And it was a cagey opening round. Radovan looking the more comfortable as the fight went on, but then Lebenstam decided to make a comeback as he started to get more comfortable with the way things were going. And in rounds 3 and 4, it was a case of Lebenstam. And in round 5, it was Radovan who was having to hold on, which he did, eventually taking it in a very close 49-46, 49-46, 48-47. And that meant it was 2-2. And the decider was to come in the heavyweight division. Yamil Peralta up against Johan Witt. Peralta undefeated, Witt yet to make a win on the WSB. And Peralta delivered some crunching blows in the first couple of rounds, which shook Witt to the core, but he just kept on coming. He soaked it all up. And despite the best efforts of Peralta, he couldn't put Witt on the floor, but he did take all of the rounds. And in the end, he went on to take the bout 49-46, 50-45, 50-45. And in so doing, Peralta took the match and Argentina took it as well. 3-2, they defeated Germany and overcome their 5-0 defeat from earlier in the season.
From the Almaty Sports Palace, Kazakhstan, tonight looks set to be more than just an intriguing matchup. With a late burst into the competition by Poland. Last weekend, the Hussars won their first but long-deserved match of the season against the Mexican Guerreros. Well, facing a team of Kazakh debutants, Hussars fans should be hopeful for the weekend. But the group of death bites back. One of the boxers standing in the polls way to repeat another matchup happened to be Daniyar Yelusanov, the current AIBA world champion at welterweight. Well, first out at flyweight, Ilyas Suleimanov took on Grzegorz Kozlowski. Never lacking heart and always bringing the action, Kozlowski was simply outgunned here. And although Grzegorz Game Boy Kozlowski gave it all, it wasn't enough. Suleiman took total control and had superior skills. Took the win, one on the board, for the Arlands. Well, at lightweight, Gani Zalayov took on David Mikulus. Mikulus gave a slightly stronger performance for the Poles here, but the work rate let him down. Zalayov had extra reserve, and that found favour with the judges. And over the 5, the work rate took its toll, and the judges found in favour of Zalayov. That was a second win for the Arlands. At welterweight, Zora Simonian looked like he needed to pull a rabbit out of a hat against Daniyar Yelusinov. Yelusinov, the current AIBA world champion at welterweight, also voted the best AIBA boxer of the year for 2013, gave an absolute masterclass. It almost looked as if he was shadow boxing. The world champion was clinical, technical, and when it came to evasion, he was elusive, Yelusinov. The elegant answer and a true champion, putting win number 3 on the board for the Kazakh Astana Arlands. At light heavyweight, Adalbek Niyazimbatov took on Kajus Zaychinsky. Niyazimbatov was powerful and dominant. A huge performance in front of the home crowd from the Almaty silver medalist. 2 standing counts and an almost non-reply to the offerings of Niyazimbatov meant across the 5, it was a cake to be walked. And it was all looked like it was going one way for the Kazakhs against the Poles. But nobody told the super heavyweights. Out came Sergei Vervechko for Poland against Arman Simonian. Brutal from the first bell. This was an out-and-out slugfest, with both fighters gassing out after the first round. Well, they came back with big rock'em and sock'em type shots, but this always looked like a bout that was going to be ending with an early shower. And it did. It wasn't pretty, but it was a win for the Poles nonetheless. They got a score on the board at least. Vervechko taking the win, leaving the final standings at 4-1 in favour of the Arlands. But the Poles putting in a really, really gutsy performance. 4-1, the Kazakhs take it at home.
Good evening and welcome to week 10 of the World Series of Boxing. We are here at the Pala Androni Caliendo in Mandaroni, just outside Caserta, for what is a Group A encounter between Dolce & Gabbana Italia Thunder and USA Knockouts. I'm your match commentator, Richard Whittle.
Dovrebbe essere pronto nel tunnel.
Barriga just stepping it up again. The big left coming across the top. This is good from Barriga. And once again, the right does the damage. Waits for that left again. The uppercut. It's all Barriga one way. Barrage of punches here. Lubin takes him. Keeps coming forward.
The winner is by unanimous decision, red corner!
It's a red corner. Azerbaijan, Italia Thunder get off to that winning start that they wanted. Emphatic victory, very dominant display from Anthony Barriga over Lubin. Lubin can be very pleased with his performance as well, as he takes the applause of the Italian fans.
56 kg.
Quei ganci, perché tu ti fermi?
Up for the third round. Michele Prudenti trailing Stephen Fulton. It's a blue corner. Stephen Fulton just did enough. Those early rounds were enough. He struggled in the final two, there's no doubt about that. But he comes through. Adams. Waiting for the moment to offload. She does. He's got to do the attacking here. He can't jab and run. Crowd here all around us, cheering Stankovic on. And he's reacting well. And that's better combinations. And Adams is rattled here. Stankovic comes inside. Gets two good headshots in. And another one, an excellent headshot. Will not give an inch. He takes another right and the left. He's taking a better punishment here, Adams. Oh, there's a big left. He stands to it. He comes forward and connects well with the right. It is Carlos Adams. And the 19-year-old goes to 2-1 in his World Series of Boxing career. Again with the left, but at the same time another slip. He's keeping Suarez at arm's length as well, so he's not in the clinches. He can start working inside. This is a good onslaught now from Muratori.
Okay, yes, I win.
It's a red corner, and Dolce & Gabbana Italia Thunder are back on level terms. And unfortunately for Joshua Temple, he's a moth to the flame. Oh, he's taken a big hit there again. And that was a stunning blow.
Adesso ho paura, capito? Perché l'hai preso. Il primo è un conteggio così, ma il secondo l'hai stoccato.
Is he that dominant? So we're at corner. If ever there was any doubt that Clemente Russo would take this fight this evening in front of his home fans. Emphatic victory, overwhelming. That's all from me, Richard Whittle. I will leave you with this final score: Dolce & Gabbana Italia Thunder 3, USA Knockouts 2.